This past Saturday scrimmage was epic.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching on YouTube or wherever you like to download your podcast, we are free, and I really do appreciate your support. So if you are watching on YouTube and you haven't become one of those free subscribers yet, it's really easy. Just click that button. And if you like the episode, hit that thumbs up. They both really mean a whole heck of a lot to the show. And to all of you who have already become a subscriber, thank you so very, very much. This episode of Locked On USC is brought to you by HelloFresh. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Go to HelloFresh.com/college60 and use code college60 for 60% off plus free shipping. So Lincoln Riley said, it's the middle of spring. There's so much to get better. And before offering the positive side, there's a ton to be excited about. There's not a position group right now that I'm not really excited about, which I don't know that I could have honestly said last year. And if I said it, I lied well, end quote. And with that, I lied well, you have to inject Lincoln Riley laughing hysterically. So that's what those were basically part of Lincoln Riley's opening comments coming off of the team's first scrimmage in their Coliseum, their first time in the Coliseum since they played Notre Dame last year. And Lincoln Riley was feeling really good about it. Now, Oklahoma fans will say that Lincoln is a really good liar, but that's probably because they still feel jilted that their dream coach left for his dream job. So on Saturday, USC completed an 85-play scrimmage. It was at the Coliseum, and Riley spoke with the media afterwards. And by the time he was done talking about all of the positive and the defense's performance, all I have to say is this: he better not be lying, because he used the word epic to describe the way the overtime session ended. Actually, it was the way he said that. I'll get to it a little bit later. He used the word epic, and if you watch Lincoln Riley, and you can go to the WeRC.com website, we've got the post scrimmage video up where he was talking with the media. You can really get a sense of his excitement. Now, again, I can forgive him for being hyperbolic. Well, look, it's spring. Camp has got 1 week left before the spring game next Saturday. You're watching this on Monday, Locked On USC. The team is, as according to Lincoln Riley, they are as healthy as they've been since camp opened. They're getting guys back who have been unavailable to them that were unavailable earlier. So, and he said the offense looked good during the scrimmage early. But then he said the defense kind of got it going in the middle part. In fact, he mentioned that there was at least 6 or 7 drives in a row where no points were scored. So he went on to talk about the solid tackling that took place in the morning when they had their scrimmage. And he was excited about the defense that actually created a sack. And he wasn't sure who created the sack, but when he spoke with us, he said that Anthony Lucas had the scoop and score on that same play. Now, later that evening, so this happened on Saturday. Saturday night, Sports Information Director Katie Ryan sent out a text message to the local media who actually attend practices. And Lincoln Riley wanted to make sure that we knew that it was actually Rajon Davis who deserved the Cardinal and Gold glory for the scoop and score. I just thought it was really cool of Riley to make sure that the media, who he actually, who speaks with these players face to face, knew who actually earned it. To me, I thought that was really cool that he would have Katie send out a message Saturday night after 7 p.m. And what's coincidental about this is both Anthony Lucas and Rajon Davis. Both of those guys were two of the first players to earn their gold plates this spring. And while Riley kept speaking about the scrimmage, you could, like I said, you could definitely tell that he was excited about the prospects of what's ahead with the defense and what Anthony Lucas brings to the table. If he's matured from his freshman season, then his freaky athleticism, it's going to provide that USC defense and the defensive line in particular was something that it probably hasn't seen since, I think I mentioned this before, Leonard Big Cat Williams. So there's a lot to be excited about. I had mentioned that the team held a scrimmage on Saturday. So within that 85 plays, that also included goal line situations, special teams situations, as well as a 2-point conversion at the end of the overtime session. And that's when Lincoln Riley injected the epic term. The words situational mastery never came up. So Trojan fans, I think you can delete that from your vocabulary going forward. However, phrases like, and words like momentum swings, which in coach speak means neither side of the ball was able to maintain momentum for any extended period. Although, if the defense kept the offense scoreless for 6 or 7 drives in a row, I'll take that kind of defensive momentum. Because apparently things needed to be settled in overtime. And according to Lincoln Riley, they really went at it, and it got really competitive at the end. And again, it ended with Riley said it ended with an epic 2-point attempt, which was fun. He didn't really indicate whether or not the attempt was good or if it, if it failed. Although he did single out a play from Kyron Hudson that stood out during the overtime. I'm going to take the leap and say that was the play. Other players that Lincoln singled out were Damani Jackson, Sia Wright, as well as the aforementioned Lucas and Rajon Davis. On offense, he mentioned Zachariah Branch had a couple of nice plays. He mentioned the running backs all had productive runs. However, he also said there were a lot of tackle for losses in the backfield. So at the top, when Lincoln said there's not a position group that I'm not really excited about, I was a little surprised considering, the availability of certain players in the offensive line room. And it wasn't that long ago that they had to reschedule a practice. So I guess I was pleasantly surprised when he followed it up by saying how the linebacker room is perhaps the deepest room on the team right now. I was like, okay. I know they brought in, Mason Cobb and the freshman Taka Curtis and Jamil Muhammad, who's also playing at rush end, but Eric Gentry's still rehabbing, and I know Shane Lee is, he's healthy this spring and he's looking to improve on what he did last season. But I think what that really means is, Rajon Davis is trending up. But Riley, he also talked about how the level of competition has risen this year over last year. And I'm going to talk about that more in the next segment. First, though, hey, FanDuel, And you know what? Grand slams, no hitters, and double plays are back. And there's no better place to get in on the Major League Baseball action than at FanDuel. They are America's #1 sports book. That's because right now, new customers, you can step up to the plate with a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just go to fanduel.com/locked on to sign up. Place your first bet and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. So, and then you know what? You can actually look for opening day. You could have made a prop bet like, will Dave Roberts pull a pitcher who's throwing a no-hitter? Will Mookie, will he have an outfield assist? Those types of things. Don't miss out on a chance to go get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to fanduel.com/locked on to sign up. FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. So maybe the reason why Riley was gushing about the defense from Saturday scrimmage, maybe it had something to do with the fact that USC thought they were going to have a defensive commit going into that scrimmage until they didn't. All right. If you hadn't heard by now, I'm sure you have. Everyone was anticipating safety Aaron Flowers from Fornery, Texas, 4-star safety. He was going to choose USC. Well, he chose to play in the Pac-10 and not compete for USC, who's moving to the Big Conference, at least for now. So Aaron Flowers has verbally committed to Oregon when everybody had their crystal ball for USC heading in. Typically, you know what that means. Again, for right now, he's committed. We'll see what happens as we get closer to the first early signing day. So I'm thinking maybe one of the reasons why Lincoln Riley was highlighting how well the defense played was to send a message to defensive recruits. Hey, don't listen to the outside noise. Listen to what I'm telling you. It's a good person to listen to. One of the things that Riley really wanted to explain on Saturday was the difference in this year's talent level compared to last season. Now, whether or not that gives Alex Grinch some room to breathe, we'll see. But remember, as in that first segment, Lincoln Riley, he pointed out during the momentum swings that the defense had 6 or 7 straight drives where they kept the offense from scoring. This year's defensive group kept, I would assume, Caleb Williams was a part of some of those drives off the scoreboard. That means the defense up against the ones did pretty good. So again, though, without knowing who was on the field, it's difficult to know exactly what transpired, what took place during those 6 or 7 drives. Regardless, sounds like good things were happening. We do know, like I said, there was a sack and a scoop and score on one play. Again, Rajon Davis had the scoop and score. Lincoln Riley wasn't sure who had the sack. We're going to give credit to Anthony Lucas. We never got confirmation with that follow-up text message in the evening either. But again, there were a lot of TFLs in the backfield. So where one room where we anticipate the competition level has been raised is the offensive line room. We know that there were 5 high school recruits, 4 of whom are going to be showing up later this summer. One is already there, Elijah Page, the freshman from Arizona. But they also added 3 offensive linemen through the transfer portal. Jarrett Kingston, from Washington State, Ethan White, and Michael Tarquin from the University of Florida. Now, I know Ethan White isn't with the team during the spring. Michael Tarquin is. And Lincoln Riley has said he's excited about what he's seen. Well, maybe he's talking about a different day with regards to the offensive line room, considering the way the defense was being bragged about on Saturday. So again, the defense, they brought in names like Anthony Lucas, Jack Sullivan, Jamil Muhammad, Mason Cobb, Tackett Curtis, the freshman phenom. Those guys are, joining the returners. Corey Foreman, Romello Height, Shane Lee, Kalen Bullock, Bryson Shaw, Rajon Davis, Max Williams, as well as last year's freshman who played a ton. Lincoln Riley wanted to talk about Damani Jackson and where he's at right now and how the level of competition's been raised. Basically, Damani at spring camp right now, he's where Sia Wright was at this point last year. But he's gaining confidence every day, every time they go out there with practice. He'll make a mistake, but he corrects it the next time he heads out to the practice field. So essentially right now, Damani Jackson, he's learning how to play at the collegiate level. He had his knee surgically repaired, and he's learning how to play with that. Part of that is just upstairs. It's physically he's fine. But in high school, he was just a man among boys. Well, in college, it's a little bit different. So he's learning how to play, how to play with that confidence level that he played with in high school. Because once that all comes together, when you have that kind of speed and that kind of size, just that kind of God-given ability, once that all comes together, the level of competition has been raised. Now it's just not the Christian Roland Wallace, Jacoby Covington, Sia Wright. Now you add Damani Jackson into that group, and there's other players. But again, all of this is great, and there's no denying that the competition level is closer to what it should be at USC. Should be. But I want to just throw caution to the wind that it is still spring. Lincoln Riley has every right to be excited, as the fans, as well as me. But I keep reminding myself about how the offensive line is not sounding like they had a great day on Saturday. So this coming Saturday, we'll see how much better the competition level really is with our own eyes together. Myself, part of the media, and then the fans. You guys are going to be in the stands. I'm anticipating at least 20,000. The weather's going to be fantastic. And whether or not the defense has taken the necessary steps, we're going to find out. We're going to see together. Because during the spring, it's, like I said, it's okay to be excited and to talk about all the great things that are happening. Well, you want to see how the team performs in front of fans now. They're doing great behind closed doors with nobody watching. And Lincoln Riley and the coaching staff being the judge of what's happening. Well, now the jury is out. The jury is coming in. And we'll get a chance to render our verdict. But keep in mind, it's spring camp. The roster is not complete. But up until this point, it sounds like, based on the level of competition that Riley's talking about, based on the players that they've brought in so far, things are looking up. Things are trending in the right direction. And that's all you want. That's one of the things you want to get out of spring. Because outside of that, there's going to be 4 months off before all these guys kind of reassemble together with the coaching staff. Once spring camp is off, these guys are turned over to the strength and conditioning staff and the PRPs, the player run practices. So if, when the coaching staff isn't out there, the guys will be out there throwing the ball around. But if Lincoln Riley or any of the coaches are out there, you will not see a ball. That's just part of the rules and regulations. Strength and conditioning is out there for safety purposes. But again, will they be able to carry over from all this positive that they're doing in the spring? They'll have 4.5 months by themselves to make sure that culture doesn't dwindle, that they keep that culture that they've been building, that foundation maintains its integrity. So when fall rolls around, all this that we're talking about now, all this positivity, that we're still being positive come fall. You know who should be positive? Mike Bohn. He's got every reason to be walking around USC like a peacock. I mean, chest puffed, strutting like he owns LA. I mean, he might be setting himself up to be USC's greatest athletic director ever. And when you think back through their history, USC's had some really historic times where, football, baseball have had, they ruled the country. Well, it's USC is kind of putting it all together right now. Oh, don't forget track and field. They're, the non-revenue sports kind of take a back page, but there was a time when USC baseball and USC track and field were huge. Track and field has had a couple of national championships recently. In fact, they just opened up a field event stadium, the College practice field stadium. I'll get you some more information on that later. Anyways, back to Mike Bohn. Don't forget, not only was he the athletic director on record when USC decided to pull the trigger and make the move to the big conference, he will go down in history as being the athletic director who pulled that trigger, who for years USC fans have been clamoring, go independent. Well, they did the next best thing. And then you take a look at his coaching hires and the retentions of the coaches that, he inherited. Those have been pretty amazing so far. I mean, Lincoln Riley, enough said. Keeping Andy Enfield, ditto. By the way, USC men's basketball is bringing in the number 1 player in the country, Isaiah Collier. Oh, and USC's NIL collective made sure that Boogie Ellis got an offer that he couldn't refuse and is returning to USC for another season. Look, I told you guys on Locked on USC that this was about to happen. So make sure you're telling all your friends where to come for their real USC inside info right here. And when you're not here, over on weareusc.com. So let's take a peek at USC's starting 5 next year, possibly. Isaiah Collier at the 1, Boogie Ellis at the 2, Trey White, Kobe Johnson. Who are you gonna start? Vince Uwachukwu or Josh Morgan? And then you have Ozziah Sellers, Silas Demery, Kajani Wright, Arrington Page, Harrison Hornery, and maybe Bronny James coming off the bench for more shooting depth. Look, my feelings for the Lakers aside, Bronny James and his father will artificially increase the attendance at Galen Center. Remember, he's considered a one and done. And Mike Bohn also hired Lindsey Gottlieb, who took the women of Troy, the women's basketball team, to the tournament for the first time since forever, 2014 to be exact. Oh, and by the way, she just signed the number 1 player in the country, Juju Watkins. And there's a rumor swirling in the background that another player could be joining each of those programs. I mentioned Bronny James. I'm specifically talking about women. There's a lot of big-time women's players who are jumping into the portal. Go check it out. So, like I said, USC is known for her football. 11 national championships, 8 Heismans, countless other accolades, blah, 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 blah. But USC baseball was once known as the best program in the country, and by a country mile. They have 12 national championships. Their last was in 1998. Their list of who's who in Major League Baseball, go look it up. Tom Seaver, Randy Johnson, Fred Lynn. It's ridiculous. I don't want to keep naming names because I will forget just way too many. Mike Bohn hired their new head coach, Andy Stankiewicz, and he has this year's team. These guys are poised to make the NCAA playoffs this year. They're ranked in the top 25. They were heading into their weekend series against San Diego State. They're probably going to go up in the poll because they swept San Diego State. They outscored them 26-4 during the series. By the way, that was the Trojans' third sweep of the season and their 5th straight series win. They've gone 15-3 over their last 18 games. They're on a 10-game home winning streak, and they've shut out 3 of their last 7 opponents. So I'm going to go check out these guys on Tuesday after football practice when they host Cal State Fullerton. I mean, let's be honest here. Southern California is a developmental league. There are so many good high school ball players, including Austin Overn, who he's already tied the team record with 10 triples. They're halfway through the season. I'm wondering if he's ever going to even play football for Lincoln Riley. I mean, USC could use this season, if USC baseball just continues on the path they're on, they're now going to be able to use this season to recruit some of that talent to stay home. Oh, and by the way, Deuce Robinson joins this team next season. So here's a question. When was the last time football, both basketball programs, and baseball made postseason in the same season? I think the answer is probably never. Don't quote me on that. But if it happens, Mike Bohn will be the athletic director when it happens. So it looks like it's going to happen this season. So, like I said, Mike Bohn deserves a huge fight on from the alumni and the fan base. If I was him, I would be walking around like this. I would be telling his peer and friend over at UCLA, Martin Jarmond, look at me. He's got every right to say it. All right. There you go. This episode of Locked on USC, we're in the books. I'll be back with another episode again tomorrow because Locked on USC comes at you 5 times a week. Make sure you tell a friend. You'll enjoy it. They'll enjoy it. And when you're done making Locked on USC your first listen every day, don't forget, head on over to wearesc.com. We still have that subscription special going. Take advantage of it. Join the excitement level. Lincoln Riley's got everybody geeked up. And then don't forget to head on over to the spring game this coming Saturday at the Coliseum, 12 o'clock, noon. It's free. Fill it up. I don't know what the record is for attendance for a spring game at USC, but I do know that if they had half the Coliseum filled, that will be a record. So half the Coliseum would be, if it seats 77.5, let's shoot for 35,000. Make it happen, Trojan fans. Until then, you know what to do.